If you go to almost any plant nursery, you're going to see plants with these tags that say propagation prohibited. That means if you took this plant home, cut it into multiple pieces, and potted those pieces to make new plants, you would technically be breaking the law. The plant, of course, has no idea that it's committing this crime. From a plant's perspective, reproduction is pretty much the entire point of existence. Plants reproduce if you cut them, if you knock them over, if you just ignore them for a month. So why is cloning this plant against the law? And if you buy a plant that you're not allowed to propagate, then what did you actually purchase? Gather round, YouTube viewers. I want to tell you a story of injustice. Uh-oh. I'm back on Reddit again. This is the Reddit post in question. Someone bought this neon pothos from Home Depot and they noticed something kind of weird about it. It had these gills on the underside of the leaves. So they asked Reddit what's going on with this plant. The commenters informed them that what they had was not actually a basic neon pothos. It was actually a very rare pothos cultivar called the elysees. The elysees is a cultivar that was developed by this small family-owned nursery in Nagoya, Japan called Teruno World. The main thing you need to know about Teruno World plants is that they are extremely expensive and hard to get if you don't live in Japan. So, how did this ultra-rare Japanese plant end up on a shelf at Home Depot for $49? One commenter points out that the plants were being sold by Costa Farms, which is the grower that supplies many of the plants that you'll find at Home Depot. Costa Farms is an absolutely huge plant nursery. And according to them, Costa Farms did not have permission from Teruno World to be selling these plants. Costa Farms doesn't have the rights to the elysees. Teruno World wasn't even aware that the elysees was being propagated by Costa Farms until Costa Farms brought them to market. He, being Mr. Ito, the owner of Teruno World, was disappointed that Costa Farms didn't even attempt to reach out. Costa Farms actually weighed in on this on Reddit. This is Gardening Justin. Gardening Justin works for Costa Farms. Justin basically confirms that yes, Costa Farms is selling Teruno World's plants, and no, they didn't get permission because they didn't need to. This is a reel posted by Costa Farms. Actually, this is Gardening Justin in the flesh. And look how many of these Teruno World plants they've cloned in the background. This greenhouse just goes on forever, and it really shows the magnitude of just how many of these plants they're actually selling. While it might be in poor taste, what Costa Farms did with Teruno World's plants is perfectly legal. The truth is that Teruno World could have protected their plants and even earned royalties from Costa Farms if they wanted to sell the plants, had they just had a plant patent. So what exactly makes a plant patentable? In the United States, to claim ownership over a plant, there are three main criteria that your plant has to meet. First, your plant has to be novel and not previously known. This could be a plant that you hybridized by breeding two plants together to make a new plant, or it could be a randomly occurring mutation that you just happen to notice. Second, your plant has to be visually distinct. It can't be easily confused with another plant. And third, your plant has to be stable through 3 generations of asexual reproduction. Each of these clones in each of these generations has to reliably look like the original plant. That's why seeds aren't usually involved in plant patents, and cloning is so central to the entire plant patent system. If you can't reliably copy the plant, then you can't patent it. If you do these 3 steps that I just laid out, the law treats you as the inventor of the plant. Congratulations, you just invented a plant. Although it's not patented, the elysees actually ticks all of these 3 boxes. Novel mutation, check. Visually distinct from other plants, check. Stable genetics over multiple generations, check. But because the elysees wasn't patented, Costa Farms is free to clone Teruno World's plant as many times as they want and sell it to anyone. This surprises a lot of people, but the truth is most plants are not patented. If you were to look at any of the comment sections on any YouTube video where I am cloning plants, people are like telling me to go to jail. You would think that I am running like an international plant crime ring. For the record, I am not secretly running an illegal plant cloning empire. I actually teach people how to do tissue culture legally at home or illegally. I don't snitch. I sell starter supplies on my website, plantsandjars.shop. Check it out. I'm also going to link a couple plant cloning tutorials designed for complete beginners below if you're curious. Anyways, when I show myself literally cloning any plant, it could be anything, I get so many comments like this. Oh, how fun! Admitting in a public video to breaking patent law for profit.
Good for you, I guess.
A lot of plant patents tend to be for crops or for landscaping plants that are mass produced, and also plants that are produced from very expensive breeding programs, like some roses and some blueberries are. But the plants that I work with are mostly rare collector ornamental plants that you would see on Instagram selling for a lot of money. I purchased this plant for $187 and I turned it into $10,000 worth of plants in 3 months by using a process called tissue culture. People tend to assume that because something is expensive or sells for a lot, that there must be some sort of legal protection in place, but at least in the plant world, that is rarely the case. In my opinion, there's 3 main reasons why small plant breeders like Taruna World might not want to patent their plants in the US. The first reason is that it's expensive to file a patent in the first place. When I toured a large tissue culture facility that does patent some of their plants, they let me know that it costs about $5,000 for each plant that they want to patent. Second, a patent is totally useless if you're not going to enforce it. Patents are enforced through lawsuits, which obviously is expensive and another additional cost that a lot of small breeders wouldn't be able to justify. And third, just owning a patent by itself isn't going to make you money. To make money, you need to have a plan to actually sell a lot of plants, either by growing them and selling them yourself or licensing the rights to a grower. Companies that do have money for registration, litigation, and that have relationships with big box stores are the huge commercial growers like Costa Farms. Small breeders just don't have resources like that. Once a plant leaves their greenhouse, controlling the propagation of that plant becomes impossible. Taruna World didn't lose control of their plant because it was stolen. They lost control because the legal system that protects plants only works if you can afford to use it. The original intention behind the plant patenting system was to encourage private plant breeders to innovate and develop new plants. This guy, Luther Burbank, was a plant breeder and also plant wizard. All the articles call him a plant wizard. He lived in the 1800s and he developed the russet Burbank potato. He actually developed hundreds of new plant varieties through selective breeding, but he wasn't able to profit from very much of his work with plants because there was no way for him to legally protect his work. He died in 1926. R.I.P. Luther Burbank, you would have loved tissue culture. After he died, people were like, that was kind of messed up. And so the Plant Patent Act was passed in 1930, partly in response to stories like his, as a way for plant breeders to claim ownership over their work and incentivize them to continue to innovate. The same basic patent system is still being used today, almost 100 years later. In modern times, plant breeders are not necessarily always able to protect their work from large companies, but what about from you? What happens if you clone a patented plant? Will you go to jail? No. Plant patents are enforced through civil lawsuits, not through criminal charges, so you wouldn't go to jail for cloning a plant.
You would just get sued.
Realistically, I think it's unlikely that any company is going to spend tens of thousands of dollars to police what hobbyists are doing with their own plants at home, even if they're propagating patented plants. And even if they were to sell those patented plants on a very small scale, like an Etsy store or eBay storefront, plant patents exist to protect large-scale production, not to police hobbyists with flow hoods and YouTube channels. The entire system depends on human cooperation, choosing to respect this invisible boundary that the plant itself crosses constantly without permission. In that sense, plant patents aren't really about controlling plants, they're about controlling people. 100 years is a long time, so I think that a fair question to ask is, does the system still function as originally intended? and who is actually benefiting from it. Let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments, and as always, thank you so much for watching. All of my links are in the description below, including some tutorials for learning how to do tissue culture and clone unlimited plants. Okay, bye guys. Wee. It is I again. I just learned I was pronouncing the name of the plant wrong this entire video, and I just finished editing it, so not a great time to learn that. To all the French people out there, I'm sorry. I know there's going to be French people in the comments telling me that's not how that name is pronounced. No one else can pronounce it either. Okay, don't come for me. Okay, this is actually me saying bye now. Bye guys.